All right, good evening, students, teachers, instructors, family, friends, past buyers. It is September the 10th, 2020, Thursday evening. I want to thank you all for joining us and thank you for being engaged. If you're here, go ahead and drop your name in the comments to say hello. Say hello, hello, hello. Remember, here at Divine Intervention Center, we truly believe that every student has purpose, gifts, and God-given talents. We discuss a variety of topics from self-advocacy, job exploration, workplace readiness, and post-secondary counseling. We have these skills training for students from ages 14 to about 21. We also help those who have already graduated in 2020 to get connected to our vocational rehabilitation program. So if you are a student who has already graduated and you want more information about that, vocational rehabilitation program is what I want to emphasize. Mostly it's for students who have graduated and you're like, okay, I need help finding a job, or I need help paying for my schooling. So if you want more information about vocational rehabilitation services, please comment, inbox us, or however you need to reach us. You can email us. We have our email on our homepage, on the About page, and you can contact us that way. Any of our instructors will be glad to talk to you about it, to get you where you need to be, on the path that you want to be, because we truly believe in you having success. We truly believe in you progressing. We truly believe this. This is a fact for us, okay? So again, here at Divine Intervention Center, we truly believe that. So hello, 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 hello. I thank you for joining this evening. I thank you for joining. Yesterday we talked about high school versus college. What you can expect your transition to be like. In college, there's a lot more responsibility that you have as a student versus what you have as a student in high school. So we went over those differences. We went through 7 key differences that you can experience and that you need to know about as you are transitioning from high school to college. There's a whole different level of responsibility, all right? So it's good for you to know that. Today, we will be discussing instructors, in classes, what to expect. We're going to be helping you understand a comparison. It's going to be a comparison of high school and college. And you need to know what to expect. We're going to hammer that inside of you, because sometimes we'll go after things that we desire. We want to go to college, but we don't know what to expect. We don't know what we are getting ourselves into. We don't know the path, truly what the path will look like for us, even though we have this desire. So today is all about showing and getting to know what that's all about. So I'm going to share my screen with you. All right. High school versus college. A comparison of what to expect. Classes and instructors. How many of you are interested in going to college? Go ahead and drop a comment and say, I am. You can raise your hand with an emoji down there in the comments and say, I'm interested in going to college. I know a lot of the students that I deal with in Dr. Malone's class, you guys are looking to go to college, and maybe that is the fact and case for every one of you all. And that's a great idea. That is a great idea. So the first thing we're going to discuss are classes. Classes, classes, classes. High school classes. High school classes. When you're in high school, we talked about yesterday, you don't really have to pick out the classes that you need. But in college, you do have to pick out these classes. You are the author, you are the creator of your schedule. So you have to know yourself along the way. In high school, students, you follow a school-directed schedule and are told how to spend your time. That's why it feels so sometimes, oh my goodness, like a drag, because you are told how you will spend your time at high school, in high school. It's not always bad, don't get me wrong. It's not always bad to be on a schedule that is dictated by someone else. Some of us, we need that structure in life. Some of us really do need that structure in our lives. So you follow, as a high school student, a school directed schedule. That means the school is in charge of making your schedule. That means the school is in charge of putting you on the right path as far as your learning opportunities. That means the school is not too interested in your personal interests or your personal passions. They're going to just put you in certain classes to pass you along, to make sure you are learning the basics that you will need for the next phase, whether that's college, trade school, or whatever they may be. They're just giving you the basics. But college, however, students create their own schedules and you manage your own time. Now, you might consult an advisor. Do we know do we know what an advisor, who an advisor is, or what role an advisor plays? If you do, go ahead and put in the comments what you think. There are no right or wrong answers, you all, because we're all learning together. We're all learning about us going to that next phase, right? So we have to understand that as a student in college, I am creating my own schedule. That right there gives me power to say, I want to take a class, start my day at 11 a.m. versus starting my day at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. Many of you probably have to get up extremely early to make sure that you can put on your clothes and get ready off for school and still be on time. Eat your breakfast if you do eat breakfast before you go to school. Whatever your routine is for the morning, you are doing that at an early time because the school has directed your schedule. Your school says you go to our school from 8 to 3 or 7 to 2 or 9 to 4. Whatever your school has directed as that plan. Most schools I know in Tennessee are 8 o'clock a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. That is a school directed schedule. However, in college, when you create your own schedule, you can say, well, I want to start my day at 11 and I want to go until about 5 or 6 or 9. Maybe you want all night classes. That is up to you. You have to know yourself enough to say, okay, since I have so much more responsibility now and so much more authority over my decision in my life, then what schedule will be good for me? That is your, decision to make. Miss K took evening classes. She did. Miss K, that's me. She took evening classes at some points because Miss K might have been working or whatnot. And so you have to work with your schedule. If you're going to be working, if you're going to be performing extracurricular activities, if you're going to be getting tutoring, all of these are necessary to know, okay, how will I, as a student, a college student, plan out my schedule so that I can have the success that I see myself having? So you have to be prepared to take that authority. In high school, you don't have to worry about it. In college, it is your responsibility. Whose responsibility is it? It is your responsibility. Your responsibility all the time. And also, you can work with an advisor. Maybe you have commented in the comment section, what you thought an advisor was or is, or who this person is. An advisor is someone who supports you in creating your schedule. There were many times when I sat down with an advisor when it came down to my schedule. But as I got more seasoned, as I got more time in college, as I understood what it took, I really didn't need the assistance of an advisor. But some of us will need the assistance of an advisor, especially probably your first year. Your first year, you're gonna want for both semesters because you have to plan for 2 semesters. See, in high school, you get these classes all year long. This is what it is. But in college, your classes and your schedule can change from night to day or day to night. You can be having 8 a.m. classes in the fall semester, but in the spring semester, you're like, I'm not doing that again. So let me talk to my advisor about having me starting later in the morning, maybe 10, maybe 11. And you might have back-to-back classes. You may have 15 hours, 16 hours, 12 hours that you have to take each semester. So it really just depends on what your needs are, what your goals are, when you want to finish college. This all matters. So the biggest difference between high school and college when it comes to your classes, your courses, is in high school, they do it all for you. They make your schedule for you. In college, you do it for yourself. If you need support, you get an advisor. Let's go to the next slide. In high school, classes are determined by state district requirements. Your classes are determined by the state of Tennessee or the district that you are in. Shelby County School District has requirements. The state has requirements. So your classes are determined by those requirements. And all students follow a similar curriculum. All students follow this type of curriculum. So we have to know that high school is more so governed by the state. It's a public high school. Craigmont and Douglas are public high schools. So that means your requirements and classes are governed by the state and your district. And all of the students there have about the same curriculum. Yep. So the difference is when you're in college is that the classes are determined by your field of study. So if you are a communications major or versus a art major and maybe somebody who's studying biology, your classes can be totally different. Totally different. Now, I will say this just for extra additional information. In four-year universities, typically, all freshmen and sophomore are on the same playing field. You might take some different classes just depending if you've already decided upon your major. But a lot of people sometimes go into college undecided. And when I say undecided means, all right, I don't know exactly what I want to study, but I know I want to be here in college. And you can be undecided in your first maybe year or so because you're trying to feel your way through it. But what we want to do is make sure that you kind of have a little more sense of direction of where you want to go and how you want to get there before you get to college and go undecided and continue to pay so much money for college. Because remember, yesterday we learned that college can be very expensive and you can even go into debt. Your family can go into debt about this, over this type of thing, right? So we have to understand that our classes in college are determined by the field of study. So if I was studying art or if I'm studying or communications or biology, my courses and classes are going to look differently. So you have to understand that and know that. That's your authority over saying, you know, well, this is the classes I want to take at the time I want to take them because I am studying this certain major. And the requirements may vary very widely among different majors. You might have to take an internship and an externship for some majors. You might have to do a job shadowing job or something like that early on. You just have to know what your major requires of you. Requirements mean you have to do this. You cannot get your degree unless you do these certain things. That means that you have to be on it. You have to know exactly what you're getting yourself into so you can know how to get yourself out and into that graduation. So the requirements can vary widely among all types of different majors. Now, if you have any questions so far about high school versus college, please don't hesitate to ask me now. You can drop those comments in the comment section, and I will be glad to answer them. Remember, we are learning the difference between high school and college classes and instructors. Right now, we are discussing the instructors. I try to speak slowly so that everyone can hear me pretty well, that my words are not misconstrued or anything of that sort. Again, I am Miss Kayla Johnson, Miss K Johnson. You all are able to call me Miss K. I do not mind that. All right, let's go to the next slide. In high school, class attendance is mandatory and it's monitored. All right? In high school, your classes are mandatory. There is no skipping class. You must go to your classes in high school. Now, granted, you do hear situations and stories about people skipping high school classes and everything, but that never looks good down the road. Your classes in high school are mandatory and they are monitored. So people are checking to see if you are in your class. They're checking attendance. They are submitting the attendance. And if you are not in that classroom, they're going to be looking for you. And if you're not in that classroom, there are consequences behind not being in the classroom because class attendance is mandatory. Class attendance is monitored. So you want to make sure that you are present. You are there in the classroom, doing what you need to be doing, learning what you need to be learning, and having the success that you see yourself having for your future. It starts there. Mandatory. On the other hand, college attendance policies vary by professor. Most of my time in college, they were trying to count my attendance. But because you have more say-so and more authority in college, you're paying for it. Whether you go to class or not, it's all on you. Whether you wake up to go to class, that's on you. See, me, I didn't really miss too many of my classes because my mom taught us early on, me and my siblings, that we go to school pretty much every day. Anytime that we missed school, it was because we probably were really sick and couldn't go, or we were on a school field trip or something related to school, but we did not miss school, hardly any. My mom is a teacher herself. She's been in administration. So she has a very strong pride of having attendance when it comes to school. So for me, that was kind of nailed down into my thought process when it came to college. Now, I did miss some classes because I was learning how to take responsibility for my newfound journey in college. But I was always taught that we go to school every day unless we just cannot make it. We're sick or something like that. We go to school. And different professors, I know when I got more into my major studies and, I was getting more into those studies that really had something to do with my degree, that school had its own process of taking attendance. You could only miss so many classes. So many classes were excused versus not excused. And in different classes, that goes for the same thing. Most times, I think now people try to take attendance. It just depends on the college you go to. It depends on the professor you have. Some professors just may not care if you're there or not. It doesn't faze them. You're the one paying for your college opportunity. You're the one paying for your college courses. So whether or not you go or not is not going to affect them. It's not affecting them. They're like, you know what? I've made my money. I'm teaching the students that want to be here. So that's what it is. So hopefully now we understand the difference between attendance policies and procedures in high school versus college. If you understand this now and you don't have any questions, I just want you to type in the comment section, yes, I understand. If you do not understand and you need something to be repeated, or you want some extra information about it, just drop in the comment section that you want extra information, or say, I do not understand, or say, can you repeat that, please? If this video is over by the time you comment, then I will go back and I will go to the comments and make sure I reply to your comment through text. Okay? So let's move on. High school versus college. High school classes usually do not have more than 30 to 35 students. This is the truth, you all. You should know this. This is something that you should know. In high school, elementary school, middle school, your classes are usually about 30 to 35 students. No more than that, actually. You might even have less. You might have 10, 15, or 20, or 21. So your classrooms are usually more small. That's because maybe even in some schools, you don't have that many students at your school overall. So you don't need that many students in class. But that's just going back to say that so that they can monitor who is there and who is not there, because your high school education, your high school attendance is mandatory. You have to be there. You definitely have to be there. Hey, how you doing? You definitely have to be there. However, in college, you all, I've even experienced this. I've experienced so many students in one class with me. I was like, oh my goodness. I remember taking a chemistry class at the University of Memphis, my freshman year. Oh my goodness, there were so many students in that classroom. It had to be over 80, maybe less than 100. But there are also classes I was in that had maybe 100 students. Almost every chair was full, like an auditorium. So in college, your classes may have anywhere from 5 to more than 100 students. A professor can literally have more than 100 students. Because usually a college, like how many students attend a college, are in the thousands. Thousands of students go to school, to college, year after year, semester after semester. They change all these different things. They change from course to class, from college to college, from state to state. And usually in high school, you might get some new students here and there, but you could almost have over 100 people in your college class. Me coming from a small town and barely even graduating with 100 people in my class, look, having 100 or something students in one classroom with me was a shock. And realize too that when you're graduating, You're graduating with thousands of people. Thousands of you all are going to be, graduating in college. People do drop out in college as well. People drop out and say, you know what, I thought this was for me. This isn't for me. But the biggest difference is in your classes, man, you can have in high school maybe 15, 20 students, no more than 30 to 35. But in college, man, you can have from 5 people all the way up over 100 people, over 100 people in your class. That's crazy, right? But it's so true. It is so true. All right, let's go to the next slide and talk about it. All right. Textbooks are usually free or provided at little expense. This is in high school. I honestly do not remember having to pay for any books while I was in high school. I do not remember having to pay for any books while I was in high school. So in high school, unless you go to some type of private school, you don't have to pay for your books. Now, this is very, 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 very important, and I want you to listen up, okay? Listen to what I'm saying right here, students and parents, if you're watching. Textbooks are usually free in high school, but in college, you're gonna spend some money. You're gonna spend some money on some textbooks. Students in college must buy textbooks, which can be very expensive. This is something you need to know because you're going to want to make sure you have some money to buy your textbooks. Now, Ms. K knows some ways to get around spending so much money on all of these books because year after year, and even sometimes semesterly, they will change the books that are being used in the classroom. And these books can get more expensive and more expensive. I was telling my younger brother the other day, shoot, if you need me to let you know how to rent books and things like that, let me know so I can give you the websites. So you won't have to spend so much money on these books, on these textbooks. But you're going to need a textbook. Most of the time, you're going to need a textbook to understand the material, to study the material that is being presented to you by the professors at your college that you're at. So you want to make sure you are prepared. You can spend up from $200 to $400 on your textbooks per semester. Remember, we learned that semesters are about 4.5 months. So every 4.5 months, you can be spending over $200 to $400 just on one book. We're not talking about $200 to $400 on 3 books. You can spend $200 on one book. So you want to make sure that you have the funds. This stuff can get expensive. And that's just books alone. We haven't even talked about room and board. We haven't talked about any of that food that you need to be eating every day to make sure you're staying healthy. We haven't talked about those types of things. There is so much that goes into being a college student. And it's fun, don't get me wrong, but you have to learn how to be responsible. You have to be ready for these types of things. You have to be ready for a change. You have to be ready financially to make this move. This is not an easy or move to make. It can be simple, but it's not always easy for everybody. So just know when it comes to these textbooks and things like that, you can start spending a whole lot of money on these things. So let's just say a thank you to high schools who don't have to pay for their books right now, saving you some money. Next slide. How are we feeling? Are we liking this information? Are we enjoying this information? What's the feeling we having? Are we good? I'm sorry, you all. My lash is bothering me. We're all right? Thumbs up. Put an emoji in that comment section and put thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. We are good to go. We are good to go. We are enjoying. Oh, okay. Hello. I didn't see your comment. I don't know why I didn't see it, but you say you just got out of school. All right. So now let's discuss another portion of classrooms to be expected. In high school, students spend approximately 6 hours per day in class and proceed directly from one class to the next. So 6 hours per day equals about 30 hours per week. So the biggest difference for you to know here, it seems like, you know, in high school, you're taking way more hours if you're doing about 30 hours per week. However, in college, since it's based on your own, you know, your schedule, you made the schedule for yourself, and it depends on how many hours you're wanting to take. Remember, the college course load is going to be a little bit more difficult because it's a higher grade level, so it's going to be more difficult for you to understand and comprehend. That's just how it goes. So you have to learn the ropes of everything. In college, students spend only about 12 to 16 hours per week. This is basically on average. There are people who take way more hours than that per week. You know, that's them. And so they spend about 12 to 16 hours per week in class, and they often have several hours between classes. So whereas in high school, you don't really get a break. You don't really get to just, you know, I mean, you might get lunch break, but your majority of the time you're in class, you're in the class, you're in the class, you're in the class, you're in the class. However, if you're in college, let's just say your schedule is like you have a 10 o'clock class, a 12 o'clock class, then maybe a 3 o'clock class, and maybe a 4 o'clock class. You see how spread out those classes are? You didn't have to get up and be ready to go to class until 10. Then your next class is at 12. So maybe you get about 15 minutes, 30 minutes of some free time, spare time to go get some lunch or go hang out with friends that are on campus. I'm sorry, you guys. Hurt. Hang out with friends on campus. There's more time, and then you don't have another class until 3 o'clock. So maybe you want to go to the gym and work out, or maybe you want to get a head start on some schoolwork. It's all up to you because you are the one who is the dictator, the author of your schedule. That's what I want to say. I'm sorry. So there can be several hours between your classes. What would you do with that extra time? What would you be doing with your extra time? If you had all this time in between your classes, what would you be doing? I just want to know. Tell me in those comments, what would you be doing if you have all this extra time? You're not used to all of this extra time. You're not used to all that extra time because in high school, you go from one class straight to the next one class to the next, one class to the next. But in college, man, you might have two or 3 hours to spare in between your classes. So understand that. I just want to get on this screen real quick and just kind of show my face. I got to give some different dynamics to this. However, let's keep going. Let's understand. Let's keep going. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. Where did my thing go? Okay, there it is. All right. So next we're going to talk about instructors. Let's talk about our instructors. Our instructors versus in high school versus college. In high school, your teachers, they check and grade completed work. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. In high school, teachers check and grade completed homework. Homework. In college, professors seldomly check or grade homework, but assume that students have completed it and are able to perform the same task on a test. So here's the difference. Here's the catch. In high school, your teachers, they're going to give you homework and they're going to take it up. They're going to read it, grade it, and say, you know, this is what you've done on your own, and check it and say, this is what you've done on your test. All right. However, in college, they might give you homework, but they might not check it either. I think later on in my college tenure, when I got into my major study courses, I had research or assignment-based work that I would complete at home, or labs to do, or papers to write, those types of things. That was those types of things for homework. But it was always more so like you have to, it was more so, what can I say? Not research-based. Some things were research-based. I would have to go to the library and I would do this 7-page to 10-page paper. It's just different in college. And when we're doing papers and we're doing essays and all of those types of different studies and home and assignments, remember, we cannot plagiarize. We talked about plagiarism yesterday. So professors, they don't really check for that. Nobody was really checking if I did my my homework assignment. It was more so, was my stuff ready when it was time for the due date to roll around? Was my research paper ready? Maybe you might have group assignments and your group might be counting on you to do work that you said that you were going to do. So you have to balance having a job, having your own schoolwork to complete, being in a group. Maybe you like to work out, so balancing a healthy life, eating food, and all of these types of things. But professors, they're not always the ones that are going to be checking up on you like a high school teacher would. To some of you, that might be something you really like to hear. To others, you might be like, oh man, I want that same type of attention. But remember, high school teachers, they monitor you. College professors, they're not really, I'm sorry to say it, they're not really studying. They're not really occupied by that. And everybody is different. So every college professor has their way of doing things. They have office hours. If you have concerns, questions, or follow-up questions from the lesson, the lecture, go ahead and go to their office hours. Find out those office hours and get your stuff together. See, in high school, teachers may remind students of incomplete assignments. So your teachers may say, hey, so-and-so, you have not completed, lesson 1, assignment 3, or module 2, assignment 4, or whatever the assignment or homework or assignment is. So they might remind you, hey, remember that we got to get this done. We got to get this done. However, in college, professors, they don't usually remind students of incomplete work. If it's incomplete, it's incomplete. That's on you. They truly believe it is the student's responsibility to make sure that the requirements for that specific, I'm about to say specific, I was trying to say specific and particular at the same time. They are trying to make sure that the student, that your requirements for the courses and the classes that you are taking specifically and individually are, that's all your responsibility. That is your total responsibility. That is your total responsibility. In high school, teachers often write information on the board or an overhead projector to be copied for notes. This is true. Note taking in high school is very different. Well, from the high school that I went to, was definitely different in my college note taking courses. I even one time signed up to take notes for the disability services for students who had disabilities. So, but college, professors may lecture nonstop and write on the whiteboard only to support the lecture, not to summarize it. So good note-taking skills are essential. So like I was just saying before, you need to make sure that you visit the disability services office, whatever it may be called, at whatever college campus you attend, and see if they have note-taking, I guess, assistants or students who does take notes. Maybe because you're not really that great of a note taker and you'll need help. So you might need somebody to help you take notes. So go visit your disability services office at the college campus that you are attending to get your extra assistance. There is nothing wrong with getting that extra assistance that you need to make sure you're progressing and successful in your college tenure. In high school, teachers often take class time to remind students of test dates and assignments. You know, some teachers will stand up and say, okay, students, remember that. They might write down on the board, remember your homework is due on Friday. You got one assignment due. And then on next Tuesday, you have so-and-so due. Your essay is due. Your essay is due. Now, remember, we talked about in college, you already have majority of all of your assignments, quizzes, and all of that given to you on a syllabus. So they're not going to take this extra step. Most professors are not going to take this extra step to write what is due on the board. They're not going to take that extra time to remind you. You're going to have to know. Some professors may, but everybody is not the same. So I don't want you to go into college expecting the same type of monitoring that you get in high school and college. It's not the same. Professors expect students to read, save, and refer back to the course syllabus. Didn't I just say that? Making sure that you go back to the course syllabus is what professors are expecting you to do. They have made that syllabus for you to refer back to save it and have it put up somewhere so that you can always know what is going on in the class. You don't have to be late on assignments because you have a syllabus. In high school, teachers have been trained in teaching methods to assist in imparting knowledge to students. So, teachers in high school, somebody has took time out to train them on a method on how to teach you. So they have been trained on saying, okay, you might need to teach this way for these types of students or XYZ. However, in college, some professors, they have been trained as experts in that area of research. and they may have never been taught how to teach. They may have never been taught how to teach. So they might just get up there and do what they know to do. This is just their area of expertise. They're telling you what they know based on the book, their knowledge, their experience. Nobody's teaching them how to teach. Nobody is training them on how to teach. In high school, teachers teach knowledge and facts, drawing direct connections and leading students through the thinking process. In high school, there's a lot of what is it called? I'm not sure of the word I'm trying to think of, but they are helping you in your thinking process. They're helping you get from point A to B in your thinking process. They are leading you in your thinking process, leading you through the thinking process. In college, professors expect students like you to think on your own, independently. And you have to draw the dots and make the connections. Even if they seem like these two things don't relate, you have to make these two ideas relate when it comes to your college tenure. When you're in college, it is your responsibility to think for yourself. That's why when they have different lectures and discussions, you would have to support your way of thinking. Why do you think this way? Maybe you did some research or you've had an experience, but you have to support why you think a certain way. And sometimes when you're connecting that, it may seem like it's unrelated, but you have to find the common ground in that information that you are sharing. You have to find that common grounds for that information you are sharing. So in high school, teachers often approach a student if they believe the student needs help in class. Have you ever had a teacher come to you and say, maybe, do you need extra help on this? Or there's different ways everybody approaches the students to ask them if they need help. But the main thing I want to ask you and help you notice is teachers are going to come after you to make sure and ask you or see or offer a little bit more of assistance in your high school experience. In college, I'm sorry to break it to you again, but professors, they are expecting you as a student to initiate contact. When I say initiate contact, that means they are looking for you. They're not looking for you to do anything. But if you are struggling in the class, if you don't understand something, if you can't seem to relate the two ideas, if you can't get something through your head, or you don't understand the homework assignment, the research paper, the essay, the whatever it may be, they're going to be wanting you to come to them. You cannot wait on them to come to you, because it may never happen, because you may have 100 students in that class. And that's kind of unfair for you as student 58 out of 112 or 120 to think that professor has time to come by each 120 students and still teach the material that you need to learn to pass the course. That's kind of unfair. So you have to go after the assistance that you need. You have to be bold enough to say, I need help, and to go to that professor and get the help that you need so that you can progress. All right. Now, this is our last slide. And tomorrow, I'll get into tomorrow after I talk about this last slide. Teachers in high school are often available for conversations before, during, or after class. College professors expect students to attend scheduled office hours if students need to talk to them. Professors often have somewhere else to be before and after class and won't take time away from the lecture for conversations. So as Ms. K was saying earlier about these office hours that the professors have, see, teachers, they don't typically have office hours. You're in there with them for so much time. They get to know you really well because you see them every day, every week. Your classes are smaller. And the professors in college, they have 100 and something students, and it's changing out every 2 days. Every other day, they have somebody else, and they have their own lives for themselves. So they have office hours that you can schedule with them to talk with them about the struggles that you're having, about the questions that you have, about grades that you didn't like that you received, and how you can improve that. That is your responsibility to take over and say, you know, I need to talk to my professor. I need to learn their hours. Usually they will give you all of this type of information at the beginning of the course. They will give you all of this information. College professors don't have time to slow down and answer individual questions about everything, because that will take away from that maybe hour or so that you have with them, maybe just twice a week. Maybe you have them 3 times a week. But the point is, you don't see them every day, and you might have to schedule your office hours to talk with them. And it's okay if you have to take time to do that. It's perfectly okay. All right. So I want to let you know that, guys, there is a family plan, and there's so many different things that we can look at, and an activity and everything like that. But you want to make sure that you are prepared to understand that when you go from high school to college, it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. Things are operated on a different type of level. It just is. Okay? It just is what it is when it comes to college versus high school. So we'll dive more into that as the year goes around. I want to know, if you have questions, please feel free, feel able to ask me those questions, because I want to get those questions answered. If you need to DM us, well, not DM, but inbox us or comment on this live, I am so happy to answer your questions. I hope you have some. I love to engage with you all, Craigmont High School and Douglas High School. But we are basically done today for today. We're done. Just continue to get on here and to learn more about what is expected of you as you are transitioning. You have desires of being in college. You have desires of having an independent living style. So you have to be ready to take the responsibility. We have to be ready to take on the responsibility of being that newfound adult. Your parents will have less access to certain things, so you would have to know certain things for yourself. So a question I want you to ask yourself, am I ready for college? Am I ready for this? Am I ready for this next stage? And if you are not ready, maybe you're in 9th grade, maybe you're in 10th grade, and this is kind of far off for you. Juniors and seniors, you need to start thinking about this. College is going to be expensive. How will I pay for it? What are the different options for me to pay for college? What are those options? How will I be able to not go into debt? You know, how will I pay for books? What will I do to keep up with all of my schoolwork? This is something good to know so that you can be prepared for the next stage of your life. Remember, I am Miss K Johnson. You can inbox us. We are working on getting us a YouTube channel up for you all to also access, because we know everybody does not have access to Facebook. We are still working to get all of our students together as far as virtual school. So hopefully I'll be seeing some of you in class virtually. However, tomorrow I'll be doing a recap of this week's lesson. I know we only kind of tapped in 2 days this week, so it'll be a quick recap because Tuesday I was not able to log on. And Monday was a holiday. I hope you enjoyed it. And also, I hope you're getting all your homework done at school, all of that great stuff. But I will see you tomorrow as I recap. I don't know what time. It will probably be early, maybe 9:30 a.m. I'll be recapping. And then I'll see you Monday where we talk about job exploration counseling next week. Next week is all about job exploration counseling. So I'll see you all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.